taking on one of the developers here, D1. And if you look at Croagunk right now doing a fine job of sort of zoning out Empoleon, getting a feel for its attacks, doing a great job blocking as well too.
Yeah, we're gonna see the rest up right now from Empoleon. Actually, wait, getting countered. The Croagunk jumping into the skies, making it very difficult. Mr. Suzaki, look at his Croagunk go. A character who has a lot of RNG when it comes to his special attacks. I wonder if he even knows what's gonna happen next.
Mr. Suzaki keeping Empoleon out of range and doing a great job with Croagunk. Croagunk, as we mentioned, can kind of play that all-around style as well too, and making sure to just keep Empoleon far away and then using those dash attacks. But nice counter there, Vicky, from Empoleon, and the grab from Empoleon also.
Immediately changing the phase, and you know, Croagunk actually does excel immensely when it comes to speed. He's incredibly fast, but unfortunately, with that RNG style like he has, he can honestly just deframe himself when it comes to this burst. Oh my goodness, but with another phase shift, he's applying so much pressure right now. Immediately using Litten with his low HP, dealing all that damage as you just saw right there on MatPat.
Mr. Suzaki's a bad man right there, getting the victory over Empoleon. And how about Empoleon selected by MatPat and Croagunk being used by Mr. Suzaki. Mr. Suzaki from Bandai Namco Studios knows everything you need to know about this game right here. Able to jump over the top of Empoleon. And what we're seeing from Croagunk, D1, is a fine job of zoning out Empoleon. Empoleon not having a lot of chances to get in the face of Croagunk and apply some pressure.
Yeah, interestingly enough, while he's using that poison stick, he can't kill the opponent. Oh my gosh!
Did you see that movement?
He's just, and you saw him just chilling on the floor as well. Look at him posing.
Croagunk, flex on him, why don't you? 419 to 268 advantage at this point. Croagunk just playing around with Empoleon. Here comes Empoleon using that synergy burst. Here comes the burst move, but I think Croagunk's gonna be in the air and avoids it there, Vicky.
That's exactly what we were talking about earlier, and that's the best way to avoid Empoleon's burst.
Empoleon with the grab against Croagunk, up in the air, gonna knock Mr. Suzaki back though. Mr. Suzaki down 114 to 275. Empoleon with some more pressure right there. Oh, 2 health left for Mr. Suzaki. 1 health over. Nice little crossover. Here comes Croagunk trying to turn the tables here, D1.
Oh my goodness, mixing up his landing, but it's not enough. MatPat falls over the opponent to try to mix up his landing and confuse the opponent.
Here it is right now, chilling out in field phase is Mr. Suzaki, but gets caught right there by MatPat. Let's see MatPat's rush on that he was able to do to JD earlier today.
Mr. Suzaki and Croagunk able to counter right there. 424 deficit though for Mr. Suzaki. However, going to drop down, get some damage, and look at the debuff that it just applied to Empoleon here, D1.
Yes, right there, the defense is lowered, which means that you're going to see some more damage off of MatPat whenever Mr. Suzaki strikes.
Meanwhile, Croagunk and that Litten gonna miss with that support Pokemon tag, but here comes the synergy burst from Croagunk. Gonna try and get some massive damage here. Big hit, is this gonna be enough? No, misses with the burst move. However, able to still zone out Empoleon. 341, 113 advantage. Winner of this round wins the game. Empoleon and MatPat trying to fight back. No, Croagunk gonna break through the grab. Flexes on him. 40 health left for Empoleon. Empoleon gonna miss with the swipe. Croagunk going to the air this time. And the crossover by Mr. Suzaki. Stone cold killing.
So with Populio's buff that lets you actually double jump, it really changes the strategy because you can kind of adjust your timing when you land on the ground or also when you execute an airborne move.
はい、ジュナイパーですね、こうやって空中でこうやってとどまることができるんで、空中から攻撃したいと。
And Decidueye, as you can see, kind of float in the air there to really kind of delay its movement and unleash attacks in the air.
さあ、そしてポッケンというゲームはですね、このバースト共鳴ゲージが溜まると共鳴バースト状態になることができます。
And then as you can see, there's this burst gauge kind of lighting up right here, but there's these there's a synergy system in the Pokken tournament game. When it's filled up, you can use a synergy attack.
じゃあピカチュウの方で共鳴バーストしてみます。
So I'm going to try doing a synergy burst attack with Pikachu.
一定時間すごいパワーアップすることができます。
And you can really power up once you're in this synergy burst mode.
はい、そしてこの最中だけ使える強力なバーストアタックという技があります。
You can use this powerful super move called a burst attack. Didn't work out though.
なんか防いでいる人がいますけど。
There's someone blocking here. Not letting it show the cool move on screen.
はい。足前ですね、足前使って、
Populate with the buff attack.
はい、こうやってジャンプで相手の攻撃をかわしたりとか、そんなことができたりしますね。
Easy to evade the opponent's attacks this way.
で
And I love switching back and forth between the phase shifts. It basically just makes the battle so dynamic. It's always changing because the characters actually.
わかります。
はい、はい、ゲンガーって言いましたけど、最初先発はですね、ダークライを選びました。
Okay, you chose Darkrai as my first here.
はい、はい、これはですね、ガチで対戦していきますのでよろしくお願いしますね。
All right, so this is actually going to be a real serious battle, so we're going to focus on this.
すごい楽しみだね。
はい、
Looking forward to it.
はい。
ダークライですね、いろんな、はい、設置をしていく形で分身をこうやって設置していって攻撃していく、そんな感じです。
So as you can see with Darkrai, you can actually kind of split and set one of your kind of shadows in the stage and then just attack from there. Really unique fighting style.
あ、いたいたいたいた。
And I love all the effects with Darkrai. You can definitely see that dark type Pokemon.
もうやっぱダークライっていうのはすごい悪タイプポケモンらしいこうかっこいいエフェクトと演出があるみたいですね。
はい、これでダーク4という技を使うですね、さっき鏡面バストって言いましたけど、それ以外のダークライだけの特別な強いモードになることができるんですね。
So actually Darkrai, other than Synergy Burst, it has its own special kind of mode where it can power up and use these very powerful moves.
はい、とても強いモードになっています。とても強いモードあったんですけど負けてしまいました。
Of course, I said I powered up and I was really strong, but I still lost based on that.
Right, because some Pokemon might be more effective against others, so you need to make sure you're choosing tactically.
まあそうですね。ポケモンの相性というかその強い弱いっていうのは多分あると思うので、まあそういう戦略を考えながらという感じで選んでいくんですよね。
そうですね。はい。
That's correct. Yeah. All right.
So it looks like we got one of the newer Pokemon for Nintendo, the Pokken tournament Switch.
ああ、今回新たに加わったポケモンですよね。出てきたのが。
はい、一番で。グレクルですね。
グレクルってサポートポケモンじゃなかったっけ
？Croagunk. I thought Croagunk was a support Pokemon before.
出世したのかな
I guess it definitely got promoted from a support Pokemon here.
結構こうやって逃げ回ることができる。
The thing about Croagunk is it can really evade the opponent easily, run around.
The Croagunk is tiny.
すごく小さいのでやっぱこう
こうやって結構逃げ回っちゃう感じですね。
So you're able to just run around, kind of a pesky Pokemon.
これは結構きついな。
Not sure I'm gonna win this.
さあもう鏡面入っていくしかないか。
Well,
レギャンバーストアタックです。
This is a Gengar Synergy Burst Attack.
Wow, that's awesome. That's crazy.
すごくかっこいいですね。
エンペルトでいきます。
Come out with Empoleon.
はい、エンペルトはですね、ポケモン技が、ポケモン技からポケモン技につながる強力なポケモンになっています。はい、
何技がですか？
ポケモン技からポケモン技につながるっていう感じですね。
So I guess it uses Empoleon uses a variety of Pokemon moves. 秘伝技のこと。
そうですね。秘伝技か秘伝技。
So yeah, a lot of the like for example the HMs that you would see in the traditional games, Empoleon knows a lot of those kind of specific moves.
さあ、という間に負けてしまいましたが、これで私も最後のポケモンになりますね。
All right, now it's last.
2-2. This is the final.
This is going to be the final round here. I've run out of Pokemon other than Scizor here.
さあ、最後はハッサムです。
This is Scizor.
ハッサムは追撃の舞という技を使って追撃を溜めていく感じになりますね。
So Scizor can use a move called Sword Dance where it actually stores up these swords behind it, as you can see there.
It's amazing. So many inventive moves and kind of styles of play with these different Pokemon.
そうやっぱポケモンごとに本当に遊び方が全然違うという印象がありますね。
そうなんですね。
Yeah, that's definitely true.
さあ、これで
All right.
結構リードした。
Oh, I'm in the lead, but
あ、しまった。
the Empoleon. Oh, I think I got beat there.
エンペルトの強めバストアタックがですね、掴み攻撃になってるのでガードしてても、
はい。So think about Empoleon's synergy burst attack. It's actually a grab move, so if you're blocking, it'll land anyway.
ちょっと自分まだ溜まってないからな。
溜まりましたね。
My synergy gauge is oh no, my synergy gauge is full.
さあ、
All right, well, I think that is actually enough time. That's all we have time for. We just saw some play, but we're actually going to
path for those people that maybe get pressured way too much. And here we already have it. Scizor, one of my favorite Pokemon, taking the stage.
Two of the new Pokemon you can catch in Pokken Tournament Deluxe on Switch as that comes out. Matt Pat versus Stephanie Pat. Scizor versus Empoleon. Let's get this started off in field phase right now. Scizor gonna unleash a couple projectiles right here, get some damage on Empoleon. Meanwhile, Empoleon doing a fine job of blocking Vicky, and being able to master that block is critical.
It is very critical, and as we saw right there, already a phase change. This is where you're gonna see the most damage being done. This is dual phase. You wanna rack up as much damage as possible, and immediately with another phase shift right there,
Matt Pat as Empoleon putting some pressure on Stephanie Pat, who is going to be Scizor. Meanwhile, Scizor doing a fine job of zoning out Empoleon early on here, D1.
But you already see Empoleon just using Aqua Jet to get inside. Empoleon, not quite the fastest character, but if he's able to use Aqua Jet, he has 4 different options out of it that allows him to get in. And already right there, taking the first round over Scizor.
Empoleon with the grab to secure that one. That means Matt Pat gets the victory. If Matt wins one more round, he's victorious. And there's something about marriage advice. You can either be victorious or happy. So I'll let you think about that one, Matt, as you get set for the next round here. Now, as we get set, we saw with Scizor, Stephanie Pat really struggling for the most part to get a lot of big hits on Empoleon. Empoleon doing a fine job of blocking Vicky.
although Empoleon may be very slow in his own way, when he gets in, he does immense amount of damage, and that is exactly what we saw that last game. But at the moment, we're not seeing that right now. We're seeing a completely different game compared to the last game we were introduced to.
Full synergy gauge for both players right now. And how important is that synergy gauge, D1, as far as the timing of when you want to use it?
So with the synergy gauge, you can actually use it to get some pressure off of you if you're blocking. You can get some recoverable health and also access to a burst attack, which will be able to turn the tides of a match.
Empoleon with the grab, Matt Pat with the early lead, 326, 237 on the health bar. Scizor trying to get some damage done in field phase. Meanwhile, going to go ahead and shift it right here. Stephanie Patrick trying to hang on and force a third round in this game between the two that are the husband and wife. Meanwhile, Empoleon with yet another grab, and Vicky, Stephanie unable to negate those grabs.
That's quite unfortunate right there, but she's activating her burst mode right now. That burst mode does a lot of damage, exactly 223 to be exact. He needs to watch out with only 51 health. Oh, but unfortunately misses just by a tad bit.
Here comes the support Pokemon with Latia. Stephanie Pat trying to give Matt Pat a to-do list and get to the third round here. However, Empoleon into the synergy burst, and Stephanie Pat, our two YouTube personalities. A couple of early hits here for Empoleon. And when you look at the support Pokemon, D1, how can they play a huge role in this third and final round?
If we're looking at Matt Pat's Pokemon Fennekin right there, you actually are able to use a move that is able to get the opponent off of you upon wake up. And now looking at Stephanie Patrick with the Latias, if I'm not mistaken, you're able to close in the Pokemon, making it really difficult for them to move around. So here it is, Scizor already having a tough time trying to zone. As you can see, Empoleon is always getting inside, using Scizor using the Swords Dance, which is great for actually making it difficult for your opponents to get inside. But as you can see, it covers the sides better than the front.
Huge advantage right now for Matt Pat as Empoleon enters synergy gauge. This could be enough to close the match here. However, Scizor not ready to give it up. Gets it knocked back into that support Pokemon right there, and now it's close. Stephanie Pat with the light advantage, but no! Matt Pat gonna go ahead and get the victory over Stephanie Pat. Impressive performance.
Opponent's face. Empoleon has such great tools to even break counters. But we're gonna go into this next match here with Alistair versus Ken.
Alistair going with Mewtwo, Ken going with Scizor early in this one. Scizor getting the attack here on Mewtwo, applying some early pressure. Mewtwo, however, able to knock back Scizor. An early advantage right now for Alistair. The nice combo up against the wall, gonna knock Scizor back. And you look at the type of player Mewtwo is. Mewtwo, once again, kind of one of those all-around players, D1.
Yeah, Mewtwo definitely one of the strongest characters in the game. Has great zoning tool, and that Hyper Beam dishes out a lot of damage. And another thing to look at is both of these players have the same assist support Pokemon right there with Litten. Litten, if your HP is rather low, you're actually able to...
This match two, Matt, Pat, and Alistair. Let's pick this one up early on. Again, more pressure just being applied by Mewtwo and able to just get Scizor up against that wall, get those combos, and Vicky, it is very difficult sometimes when you get pinned up against the edge of the stage.
Yeah, it really does, because not only are you stuck against the wall, but you're limited to so much stage control that you take so much damage. Although you can't ever get KO'd if you are pressed against the wall immensely. But immediately we're seeing Scizor taking it over Mewtwo. Mewtwo and Scizor being two characters that really like to fight mid-range.
So many different random moves that come out. You don't quite know what's gonna come at you. And as far as Darkrai is concerned, he's a character that specializes in traps. If he's able to catch you with that Dark Void, you go into Nightmare mode. And once you're in Nightmare mode, things get way more difficult facing off against Darkrai. He has more moves than Pierce as well.
A legendary, mythical creature of the dark taking on a ninja frog, basically. We've got Croagunk going on against Darkrai. That's what we love about Pokken Tournament Deluxe. All of these Pokemon here getting a chance, even playing field to take on each other. Still right now, nobody with an early advantage. You see JD Witherspoon with Darkrai. Meanwhile, Black Nerd Comedy going with Croagunk. And there you go, the support Pokemon coming in, creating some damage.
Croagunk actually trying to find his way in. As D1 did mention earlier, this character is a very RNG. If you hold his A button, he could get positive stats or negative stats. That would be terrible for him to get that negative stat around the end when it would really make a difference within the match.
Oh, we see JD Witherspoon, though, getting knocked back by Black Nerd Comedy and Croagunk, however, able to respond right there. Has that full synergy gauge. It's getting filled right there. However, has the support of Reshiram ready to go whenever he wants, D1.
Oh, absolutely. Reshiram dishes out a decent amount of damage. And right there, you already see Darkrai just having a tough time dealing with this Croagunk. You know, the Croagunk already activating burst mode. What's going to happen here?
Croagunk in burst mode, trying to put some pressure on Darkrai. Can he connect right here? No, won't. Darkrai able to block that. Able to do a fine job of reading Croagunk. However, time is up. You've got to operate a little bit quicker. That first victory in that round is going to go ahead and go.
I feel like it could be depending on the player's preference, what they feel like they lack as a player, and what their Pokemon lacks in the neutral. So if their Pokemon is just very slow and they're not able to close in that gap to get as much space as possible done and apply all that pressure, maybe they want a support Pokemon to help speed up their boost.
Croagunk applying some pressure to Darkrai, and what's interesting, D1, is we're seeing Croagunk really succeed right now, keeping some distance from Darkrai and zoning Darkrai out.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised seeing how Darkrai, being the character that's great at zoning, is instead being zoned out here by Croagunk. The bombs being placed on the field have made it very difficult for Darkrai to approach.
Darkrai activating its Synergy Burst. Let's see if we can connect with the burst move. This might do it. No! Misses, however. Meanwhile, Croagunk up against the wall. Darkrai trying to apply some pressure. Here comes the burst move, though. And this is going to be fantastic. What do we have here?
We have the Infinite Eclipse dishing out 198 damage. This should possibly be the end.
You can sit back and watch the credits roll right there as JD Witherspoon and Darkrai bounce back. No love lost between these two as we get to our third and final round. Let's pick things up early on here. Croagunk getting some pressure on Darkrai, trying to zone Darkrai out, getting up close in the face of Darkrai now. And you see getting knocked back right there. You can't hold that shield and that block forever.
You can't, and you see Croagunk is actually planting the bombs on the opposite side of Darkrai and then forcing him to move towards those bombs with his own projectiles. It could be really tricky. You have to watch out because those bombs are not activated, but they actually deploy on their own.
Croagunk gonna activate the Synergy Burst right now. That's gonna obviously do some more damage. Meanwhile, Darkrai with the buff of its own. Here comes the Synergy Burst move, but no, misses once again. And that is huge for Darkrai because Darkrai having a chance to build a Synergy Burst and also has that Cresselia as the support Pokemon ready to go and going to deploy it right now, D1.
Already getting that recoverable health back. Look at that, 408, looking quite healthy.
Croagunk getting in the face of Darkrai. Darkrai trying to get the grab right there, misses. Fine blocking right there. Nice little combo by Darkrai. JD Witherspoon versus Black Nerd Comedy. The best of three right here comes down to this. Meanwhile, Croagunk getting a major hit, doing some nice damage on Darkrai right there, Vicky.
Yes, it's incredible how much damage output Darkrai actually has, but Croagunk still holding his own. He could still definitely do this. He's applying as much pressure as he possibly can, and they're gonna try to put themselves into dual phase to rack up all the damage as possible there.
D1, only 10 seconds left in this one. You've got the advantage for Darkrai, and Darkrai gonna go at Darkrai versus Empoleon. Darkrai being played by JD Witherspoon. Matt Pat gonna go ahead and go with Empoleon right now. Some early pressure being applied by JD Witherspoon, trying to zone Empoleon. maybe some coaching provided by Nairo. We'll see. Meanwhile, Alistair with some advice from Matt Pat. Empoleon getting in, getting a couple early hits on Darkrai, and already we see Empoleon getting in the face of Darkrai and applying some pressure here, D1.
So the main thing you saw there is that at first, JD Witherspoon was doing an impressive job of zoning with the Dark Bolts, but what happened was, finally, we saw Matt Pat opt to go with the Ice Beam to get inside and use that slide.
And you can't hear them right now, but JD Witherspoon is just talking all sorts of mess to Matt Pat right now, trying to throw him off his game. And speaking of throw, gets the grab right there, and that's going to help sort of turn the tide. No synergy burst quite yet. However, you see the support Pokemon ready to go for Matt Pat. Darkrai trying to wait for that Cresselia to be ready to call at any moment's notice. We're going to go ahead and shift phases here, and Empoleon still trying to get that early pressure on Darkrai in its face up against the wall here, Vicky.
Already applying so much pressure against the wall, and this is where a lot of damage is going to be, but immediately with that grab, he's going to get the KO, and that's going to be game one to Empoleon.
One thing about Empoleon too, he has some moves that can actually go through your counterattack, so it can be very scary defending against Empoleon. You want to keep him outside, which is why you see JD just trying to run away in zone.
Matt Pat took the first round. If he gets this one, that'll be a one-game victory for his team in this 3 out of 5 final championship. Empoleon, meanwhile, all that pressure up against the wall, D1. We see it time and time again.
He just keeps going in with the Aqua Jet. Finally, JD puts up the shield and gets grabbed for it.
I don't hear a whole lot of talking coming from JD at this point. Facing a huge deficit, 553 to 57. Going to go ahead and deploy that synergy burst. You've got to release the Hoons at this point and try to fight back against Matt Pat. Matt Pat does have a synergy burst. Reshiram right here, the support Pokemon being cold, but that's blocked by Empoleon and Matt Pat. Darkrai going to try with that burst move, but it doesn't connect, D1.
It just looked like JD Witherspoon trying to use everything in his arsenal.
Let's see if JD Witherspoon learned anything from that last matchup. We saw Empoleon, D1, really apply a lot of pressure in the face of Darkrai, not where Darkrai really wants to operate, and found himself pinned up against that wall for most of the match.
Yep, again, we see JD Witherspoon trying his best zone, but once Empoleon gets inside, it looks like all that little chip damage that he was able to get doesn't quite matter, so he's going to have to do a better job of keeping that wall up.
That grab was negated by Empoleon, and once again, just going to work the combo and the pressure up against the wall. However, Darkrai able to counter that right there, and finally getting some relief here, D1.
I actually like the fact that he was attacking more instead of trying to throw the projectile, but here it is, Empoleon striking back with that Ice Beam.
And Vicky, Darkrai cannot just try to get Empoleon out of the zone. It's just too much Empoleon in your face at this point.
It's so many buttons being pressed in your face, and it really does work. There was not a...
Those rush Pokemon living in that rush down zone as opposed to Darkrai the zoner, not really getting a lot of breathing room between him and Empoleon.
Yeah, let me just tell you, Alistair actually really loves Empoleon. So to have Alistair helping out Matt Pat, that's a big boon to him right there. And look at it already, Matt Pat trying to maintain that health lead. Going for the grab, but this time JD Witherspoon being a little more aggressive, going right through that.
That was really smart of JD, actually, recognizing that he wanted to go for the grab when he held shield just slightly longer than he should have, and he immediately threw an attack to counter that counter.
And there it is again, we're going straight back into dual phase. Only 10 HP left on JD Witherspoon. He goes into the burst. I don't know if he's going to be able to connect it. Looking for an opportunity to confirm. Is this a chance?
Darkrai with that burst move in. Yes, going to grab Empoleon. This is going to do a lot of damage here, D1.
Yes, 198 to be exact. And here is the infinite Eclipse.
However, Matt Pat and Empoleon still with a sizable lead, 254 to 42. Gonna be able to block the support Pokemon right here. Darkrai trying to keep Empoleon guessing, however, Empoleon getting in that area where it likes to operate best, right in the face of Darkrai, Vicky.
Empoleon himself has his burst mode active right there, and he's activating it as we speak. Are we gonna see the deep blue Monarch? That does a lot of damage, and right now with such a close game, it may be...
Oh, JD Witherspoon!
A little bit too comfortable there. He said, you know what, I'm gonna probably sit on my win, right, and just wait for my opponent to basically defeat himself.
So as these two teams face off, Matt Pat versus JD Witherspoon, it's a 3 out of 5 games for them to get 1 point. Then Alistair and Nairo will face off for another potential point. If both teams are at 1-1, we'll go to one final match that will determine the champion of our 2017 Pokken Tournament Deluxe Invitational. But let's get you back to the action here as Darkrai at 226. Now has turned the tables, Vicky, and has Empoleon up against the wall.
That's why you don't just relax after the second game. You may have won 2, but you never know when it's going to bring back around. Right now, as we're seeing, it could be really close. Is Empoleon going to finally take it
That Reshiram gonna knock Empoleon back, and that does some major damage and gonna also decrease the attack for Empoleon. Empoleon going into burst mode at this point. 14 health just for Darkrai. A puppy kiss would knock him out at this point, but no! Empoleon with the nice cross on. These stages are different sizes, so if you're Darkrai, you're going to want a larger stage potentially. Meanwhile, Empoleon seems to be really fine operating those smaller stages, pushing Darkrai up against the wall.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You could already see the match just started, and immediately Empoleon cornering Darkrai. And also, let's not forget the synergy drops too. They're quite different depending on what stage you're on.
And what we're seeing in Empoleon, one of those rush down Pokemon that likes to be right in your face, really making life uncomfortable for Darkrai is a huge early advantage for MatPat, 571 to 72. Darkrai just trying to find some space, but no, Empoleon, not even though, never stops smiling right there. Let's get set for our next round here. Now, this is critical right here, D1, because if Empoleon gets the victory, that's the third and decisive game point for MatPat and Alistair. That'll give them their first point of this match. Early pressure being applied by Empoleon, and the nice juggle right there, D1.
Yeah, and I also notice how Empoleon is also taking to the skies, making it very difficult for Darkrai to find quarter.
542 to just 4. Darkrai's going to need all the help it can get to try to keep Empoleon away from the victory. However, that Reshiram going to do some major damage and decrease the attack. However, Darkrai trying to back up, zone out. Empoleon missing a couple times. Darkrai going to negate the throw, get some damage on Empoleon. This could be something incredible. Here we go. Synergy burst activated for Darkrai. Hanging on the ropes with just 76 health, but here you go, Vicky.
Oh, but you cannot shield that, and that is exactly what we're talking about, Jordan. You cannot shield that. You can't just shield that burst.
You can't shield it, and there's no lifeguard on duty for Dark.